Do you seem to never be able to finish a diet? Do you keep falling off early? Well, in this video, I'm going to lay out a case for why sustainable weight loss is probably your best bet and why I take most of my clients down that path. First, let's define sustainable weight loss. In most instances, sustainable weight loss is around 0.5 to 1% of body weight a week. So for a 200-pound person, this could be up to 2 pounds per week. What are some of the pros of slower weight loss? So more towards that 0.5% of your body weight per week. The first and one of the biggest is going to be easier adherence. The less of a caloric deficit you're in, the easier it is to stay in for a longer period of time, feeling like you're not hardly doing any work at all. Practically, most people can start losing weight by simply making just one little change to their diet, switching from drinking their calories to drinking water or a diet beverage. Oftentimes this is enough to start losing pounds and pounds of body fat over time until you get leaner. So this is what we mean by slower weight loss. It doesn't feel like you're changing that much. Along that same line, point number 2 is going to be less mental effort. Again, simply making that one change in your diet or cutting out Taco Bell once a week and choosing to cook at home, more often than not, that will jumpstart your weight loss journey for very little mental effort. In fitness and in terms of dieting, you're eventually going to have to pick the hard thing that you want. You can't have it be easy all the way through. A pro of slow weight loss is you're making something a little bit easier where it doesn't have to be harder yet. Pro number 3 of slower weight loss is going to be less fatigue. The bigger of a caloric deficit that you're in, the more additive fatigue you're going to get for the duration of your diet. If I were to tell you to eat in a 2,000 calorie deficit, you would be laying on the floor crying in the fetal position after a couple weeks because that is a crazy fatiguing diet. Versus if I told you cut out 10 calories every single day, you literally won't notice a difference. You'll be living your normal life. Lastly, a last benefit of slower dieting, and I think one that's really personal to us, is you have a higher likelihood of maintaining all or even gaining muscle mass. The greater of a caloric deficit that you're in, the more likelihood that your body's going to start to rely on some of that skeletal muscle reserve. Versus the smaller of a deficit that you're in, the more likely the muscle gets left alone, and you might even have some spare resources left over, depending on your training age, to actually build some skeletal muscle. Next, let's talk about some cons of losing weight slowly. The first one, and the one I see most commonly, is that it can be unmotivating. Water weight fluctuations occur in such a way that if you're losing weight slowly, you might not see meaningful changes on the scale or meaningful changes in your physique for weeks on end. This can be really unmotivating, especially if you're already annoyed with the process of dieting. Along the same line, the scale becomes less reliable. If you're losing a quarter pound a week, it is very possible, just with general water fluctuations, that you see a stagnant weight, or maybe even some periods of weight gain. Now we know you're losing weight under the hood, right? But you're looking at that scale every day and it's kind of getting in your head. So slower weight loss can kind of mask what's actually occurring under the hood and be demotivating. All right, now let's talk about some of the pros of fast weight loss. This has the exact opposite benefit. I don't know about you, but stepping on the scale multiple times throughout the week and over the course of that week, seeing that you've lost 2.5 pounds is pretty motivating. For some subsection of people, the harder the task, the more they grit their teeth and buy in. Sometimes if it feels like you're not really giving much effort to something that you're invested in, it might be easier to back off. But if you're really gritting your teeth, buying in, altering your life around this diet, if hardships come up, a certain subsection of people are more likely to stick it out because they've already got that big investment in there. Another huge benefit is that it's quicker. Diets are like hospitals. When you need them, you're very happy they're there, but you don't want to spend as much time there. You want to get in, get fixed, and get out. So rapid weight loss allows you to lose the weight and get back into a caloric surplus, which is a general state where we want to spend a lot of our time. Now, let's talk about some of the cons of fast weight loss. The greater of a caloric deficit you're in, the higher likelihood that you're going to start losing skeletal muscle. This also occurs the leaner that you get too. So if you have 70 pounds to lose and you're in an aggressive caloric deficit, you're probably not going to lose muscle. But if you're a contest bodybuilder and you decide to do an aggressive lengthened diet phase, there could be some muscle loss. The point is that the greater caloric deficit that you're in, the more fatiguing it's going to be and the more potential brain fog you could run into. So day-to-day life, training, relationships, etc. can become harder the more aggressively you're dieting. When you have less energy for training, sometimes that training can really suffer, and this can kind of potentiate that risk of muscle loss we talked about in point 1. And these all fall under the umbrella of sustainable weight loss. 0.5 to 1% body weight lost per week is going to be a really good place to start for most people, and you need some extraneous circumstances to want to go too far outside of that. Let's talk about why we recommend this. Sustainable weight loss allows you to learn sustainable habits that you can take with you outside of your time in that diet. Oftentimes, what a good lean bulk should look like is you're eating mostly like you were eating in a caloric deficit, but you just sprinkled in a little bit more fun there. So like a really personal example, a day of eating for me might be overnight oats, lean meat sandwiches for lunch, and then dinner is some type of chicken or beef dish, and the last meal of the day, again, some type of chicken or beef dish. What a caloric surplus looks like for me there is add in pre-workout cereal and add in some type of snack or other thing with dinner and the later meal. Now all of a sudden I'm in a 500 calorie surplus or a 250 calorie surplus, and I'm golden. Successful diets are about finding what's sustainable for you, because that's what's going to carry you through the long term. The next really important point is that muscle gain and muscle retention are the hard parts of the physique equation. Fat loss can happen like that, and you can be lean. Building muscle takes years and years and years. So if you're constantly taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, you're really hamstringing yourself here. You want to retain as much muscle as you can on your diets. Sustainable weight loss also avoids risking burnout, falling off the bandwagon, or just generally sucking at life. There is a point in every diet, especially when it's gone on too long or if it's too aggressive, where you're just going to essentially, in your deepest parts of your soul, want to be a couch potato, not want to train, and not want to do anything. And we want to mitigate those negative effects for as long as possible. And lastly, crash diets, aggressive diets, or diets that cut out whole food groups or whole macronutrients can cause nutrient or mineral deficiencies, which we'd like to avoid, and which the sustainable weight loss model does avoid. This is why, in general, for most all of my clients outside of special circumstances, I really do recommend sustainable weight loss, and I try to coach people along those lines. Hopefully this helps, and have a good day.